All right, y'all. So I have been budgeting for a little while now, and the experience has been amazing. It has allowed me to save more money than I ever thought I could save. It has allowed me to purchase a brand new car that I didn't think I actually had the money to do that with, right? I didn't think I made enough money to be able to afford a car note. And so budgeting has just opened up so many opportunities for me and showed me so much about finances, my spending habits, my saving habits or lack thereof. So today I want to take the time and share with you step by step on how to budget, because I know I've talked to several people about budgeting, and one of the questions is, well, how do you actually start? And what does that look like? So I'm just going to give you some step by steps on how to get into budgeting. Before I get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Coach Liz, and I help women reach their goals so they can live the life they want and deserve. All right, let's get into it. So first things first, before you even get into budgeting, identify your why. Why do you want to budget? For me, it was because I wanted to be able to invest more into my retirement so that when it comes time to retire, I can do the things that I want to do, like travel and, just be able to be kind of worry-free about money when I retire. So think about that. What is your why? And guess what? Your why can change, right? And if I really think about it, my why at the beginning of budgeting was because I just wanted to try it out. I wanted to see what budgeting was about. I wanted to see the benefits of it, or not benefits, right? I just want to see kind of how budgeting worked. From the why of me wanting to just learn how budgeting worked came the desire to say, okay, I can spend less and save more and begin to put more into a retirement. So then my why kind of shifted, because once I learned how to budget, then my why shifted from just being curious about budgeting to, okay, now I want to budget. I want to have some goals. And one of those goals, or my primary goal for budgeting, is putting more money away for retirement. So what is your why? Why do you want to budget? If you're just curious, that's cool. You can get into it and try it for a couple months. There's really nothing. I guess anything can go wrong, right? However, when you're budgeting, you're writing it down, you're keeping track of your spending, you're coming up with a plan to say, okay, I want to spend on this, I want to spend X on this, and then I want to save this, and I want to invest this. So honestly, I think the benefits of budgeting outweigh anything, I guess, that could potentially go wrong in budgeting. So identify your why. Why do you want to budget? Are you just curious like I was? Or are you trying to save for a car? Are you trying to save for a house? Or do you just want to become financially free and just learn actually what it takes to manage your money, right? So think about it. So first thing, think about your why. And then next, try it. So go through and look up all the different budgets there are. There are tons of different budgets out there. There's the zero-based budgeting, which literally just means income minus expenses equals zero every month. So when you budget, you would just zero it out. There's the pay yourself first, which focuses on saving and then debt, and then you spend the rest. There's the envelope budgeting, where it's actually all cash. You take all your money and you put it in different envelopes and you budget that way. And then there's the 50-30-20 budget, which is 50% goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings. And that actually happens to be the one that I prefer. Again, though, do your research, look into it. Just Google budgeting, right? Or budget templates or different types of budgets, and find one that works for you. I started with a different type of budget. I can't even remember what it was, but I didn't like it. It just didn't work for me. And that's the other thing. You can actually budget on an app. You can budget on, like mine's in a Google Sheets. So whatever is comfortable for you. You can actually do it on paper, pencil. You can write it all down. Right? So whatever works for you, I would just recommend trying different things on until you find the one that you're the most comfortable with and that fits your style and how you like to budget. All right. The next step is, okay, you've identified your why, right? You have found a budget template that you're interested in using that you think would work for you. Next is, okay, how do you create the budget? How do you decide how much to put into how much to budget for groceries, how much to budget for some of those miscellaneous things that you might not ever budgeted for, like clothes. If you have an animal or a pet, how do you budget for that? How do you budget for just all the different things that you need to, expenses that you would have in a month? How do you set that budget up? You're gonna use your previous month's bank statement to do that. For example, if you go back to, let's say, February's bank statement, and you'll export it into an Excel sheet. That's how I do it. Now, you don't have to do it this way. This is what worked for me. I exported it into Excel spreadsheet, and then from there, I went through and plugged in my expenditures and my savings into my budget. So my budget template, as you can see, I have a whole bunch of different line items. And in those, so for example, let's start with groceries. I went through my bank statement I would go through my bank statement for the whole month of February and say, okay, how much did I spend on groceries? Plug that in. Let's say it was $550. Then I might set my first budget for the following month to be $550, right? And then I would go to the next line item and the next item. And I would continue to go through that, and I would base it on my previous month's spending. Right? Now, again, your budget is flexible. You can tweak it. You will have to change it as you begin budgeting and learn kind of how your expenditures work and your saving, right? But just start with your previous month's budget first, plug those numbers in, and then use that to start your first budget. And remember, be patient with yourself. It is a learning process. It does take discipline to stick to a budget. And I'll tell you, for me, it was so worth it. The benefits outweigh any troubles or any heartache there was for me to say, oh, I'm not going to buy that this month. I didn't budget for that, right? It's been so beneficial. So be patient with yourself and you got it. All right, up next, when you're budgeting, make sure you pay yourself first. So what does that mean? Always make sure you put something away into either a savings, a regular savings, a high yield interest account, into investing. That's all paying yourself first. So just think about that. How are you going to invest and or save some money so that you can take care of yourself first, and then you'll do everything else you need to do. Budget for everything else. So make sure in your budget you have a line item that allows you to pay yourself first. You might have multiple line items like that. So for me, for example, I have my Roth IRA, which I pay every month. I say pay, I invest into every month. And then I also have different savings accounts for different things that I put into every month as well. So just think about it, how you're gonna pay yourself first, and then make sure you pay all your bills and all that fun stuff next, but make sure you pay yourself first. And when you first start budgeting, think about it for a second. It might not be realistic for you to go in and say, okay, I'm going to save $500 this month. If you're not used to saving at all, you're not used to paying yourself at first at all, do what's realistic for you and your income and expenses. So maybe it's $50 a month at the beginning. That's awesome. You have to start somewhere. Okay, so do something realistic, especially when you're first starting off, and then you can let that grow and you can change that as you learn how to budget more. All right, up next, always create a line item in your budget for surprises, because surprises happen every month, at least for me. Right, so I have a line item in my budget called miscellaneous, and what that is, I put some money to that every month so that if something comes up that I didn't budget for, I still have a little money put aside for that. And that's something that kind of changes and fluctuates a little bit, but make sure you put some money away for surprises and things you did not know. It could be expenses that you didn't count on for that month. It could be a bill that only comes out, like say every 6 months. You're like, oh, I forgot about that bill. So set yourself some money aside for surprises. And the more you budget though, the more you'll be able to keep track of those monthly or every 6 month expenses or the yearly expenses, right? You will begin to keep better track of those, and there'll be less surprises as you budget, and still always keep a line item for surprises. And last but not least, always make sure you're revisiting your budget, right? Obviously, if you're gonna do a monthly budget, you're gonna be revisited every month. And depending on how much you spend and how your income works, you might wanna revisit it say you get paid every 2 weeks. You might wanna revisit every 2 weeks, or say you get paid on the 1st and 15th. You might wanna revisit on the 1st and then on the 15th, especially when you begin budgeting, because there's just so much to learn. And I've said it once, but I'm gonna say it again. Be patient with yourself. Budgeting takes time. It takes research. It takes discipline. And for me, it has been well worth it. So I'm sure it will be for you too. All right, so as we wrap up how to actually start budgeting, I want you to think about it. What is one thing you'd like to do differently this year in regards to your finances? And write it down or put it into your phone. And then you can look at that and see, okay, does budgeting help you with that? I'm pretty sure it will. Even if your goal is to spend less on certain things, okay, then you can obviously work on that through your budgeting. Or if it's to save more, or if it's to invest more, any of those different areas, a budget will help you with that. So think about it, What do you want to change? What is one thing you want to change with your finances this year? So write that down and then look into budgeting and pick a budget that you think will work for you and get started. And here's what I would recommend. If you're watching this video in the middle of a month, find your budget, get it started. Obviously, you don't really want to start budgeting until the following month, right? Because it's going to take you time, trust me, to set the budget up, to go through your previous month's expenses and so forth. So don't try to rush and be like, oh my goodness, I got to get this done in the next 3 days because a new month is coming, or I got to get this done. And no, it's okay. Do the work at the beginning, get everything situated the way you want, and then start your budget the following month. All right, well, I hope you found that beneficial. And if you feel like you need help with the budget, setting it up, I'll be happy to help you with that. You can reach out to me on my website. You can send me a DM on Instagram, or you can reach out to me a messenger on Facebook. And until next time, be well, get organized, and live the life you want.